Bienvenue pour le Photocall de Sorry We Missed You, nouveau film.
So welcome to the Photocall for Sorry We Missed You, new film from Ken Loach, already the holder of 2 Palmes d'Or. Back with this new film, this terrible, poignant film about the terrible plight of people in difficult the gig job in the gig economy, and the people who are trying to earn their living. And so they become real workhorses just to get the basics, to bring up their families, to bring up their children that they have no time to see anymore because of all the work they have to do. So again, we're surprised always by the power of his films. Each time he manages to tell us a story which we can really share with the protagonists. Everyday stories, though. The stories which are fascinating. So Ken Loach with Paul LAVERTY, his loyal scriptwriter. They've worked together for about 20 years now, I think. Paul LAVERTY, that we can see on the left of the screen with his cap. He's totally on the left. Ken Loach there with his actor Kris HITCHEN. Then the young boy is Rhys STONE. Rhys STONE, who plays Kris HITCHEN's son. He's a bit of a rebel. He doesn't want to go down the same path as his father. Next to him, there's PROCTOR, who plays the daughter of the family, and the mother played by Debbie Honeywood. So this family, which is shaken up by the living conditions, the particular working conditions that their parents have to accept. They try to do their jobs as well as they can, but in a complex digital society, ultra-liberal society, ultra-free market that Ken Loach describes, it's very difficult for them to survive. And of course, as parents as well. It's written by Paul LAVERTY. As I said, he's moved off the image there. He had his. He was the one with the cap on. He's Ken Loach's scriptwriter, of course. So, he did a lot of research work before this, going and meeting delivery drivers and so on, and.
Des personnes qui n'ont pas encore véritablement travaillé comme acteurs.
The people who haven't really worked as actors already. They might have had, a little bit of walk-on parts or something like this, but so they're the young girl, PROCTOR, but Debbie Honeywood, she'd been in a couple of TV series, so she wanted to go into acting, and now she's got this role as a carer, a home carer for the elderly, for people in difficulty because of disability or whatever, but she's only paid, she's on a 0 hours contract, so her transport isn't paid for, her break time isn't paid for, so she has extremely long days, but she tried to manage her 2 children as well. On the other side of the screen, with Ken Loach, you can see there Kris HITCHEN, who was a plumber. He was a plumber for a long time, for about 20 years before he wanted to become an actor, and he could do it thanks to the help of his wife, who said, yeah, go for it, and he managed to convince Ken Loach to take him in the film, because in particular he comes from Manchester, and the character comes from Manchester as well, so this as always, the dialogues are very good. We know that Ken Loach is a big football fan. Of course, you remember his film with Eric Cantona, and he's a Man United supporter, so you've got wonderful dialogues about football. But it's a very poignant film. There he is with Paul LAVERTY. They work on society, they work on film, they're constantly questioning us, and each time they make films holding up a mirror, and which really shake us up. Ken Loach, of course, as I was saying,
at
the opening of the Photocall. Palme d'Or in 2006 for The Wind That Shakes the Barley, a historic film on the Irish situation. And then he came back 3 years ago now, in 2016, with I, Daniel Blake, which already was the film which had the seeds of this story, the story about food banks, about difficulty of surviving on unemployment benefit.
Maintenant, ce sont des gens qui travaillent, mais qui, même en travaillant, ont du mal à...
Disability benefit. So these are people that are working, but they find it very difficult to connect the two things. Since, he started working on TV in the 1960s, and since then he's come back here with, of course, films like Kes. He's been here in Cannes, and he talks about society, he talks about the evolution of the world, the development of the world, and changes in the UK. There we have the producer of Ken Loach's films. She's been producing them for many, many years now, Rebecca O'Brien, with Paul Laverty and Ken Loach there in their work. Ken Loach, who came to Cannes once to say that he was going to stop making films, and then he came back to it, convinced by Paul Laverty, convinced that he had things to say. Paul Laverty convinced him that he still had things to say on British society and Western society in general, and even worldwide society, in fact, with this ultra-free market approach. So on the working classes are paying the price, the high price, and they're under even greater pressure. So this family which is really hard done by. Actors who are more or less taking their first steps in cinema, and they didn't necessarily know the end of the film. Ken Loach doesn't tell everybody what they're going to be doing, and he works in chronological order. He gets his actors to rehearse before each shot, and tries to capture the essence of each scene. And the discussions are beautiful scenes in this family.
L'homme veut absolument arriver à donner le meilleur à ses
enfants. He managed to get the best out of the children as well, and this woman as well, who loves the people that she goes and helps, and she's really passionate about her job. She really wants to do her job and do it well. And it's difficult to do your job, though. That's what Ken Loach tells us today. She wants to do it with dignity, with compassion.
Et donc, cet investissement
dans leur
travail met en danger,
investment endangers
la vie de cette
the life of this family, and they never get time to see their children and so on. The boy who doesn't want to live like his father, he tags walls and things like that. And then the girl who sees her parents arguing, tearing each other apart. The father and the son arguing, they can't dialogue together, they can't discuss things, and terrified by their situation.
Cette famille est traversée par beaucoup d'amour.
And this film, nevertheless, has a lot of love in it.
Voilà Ken Loach.
So there's Ken Loach. Paul Laverty.
Qui réussissent donc à nous bouleverser.
Who really
par le réalisateur Michelangelo.
Shakes up. There's Michelangelo Convino presenting The Climb in Un Certain Regard, who has probably said all his admiration for Ken Loach.
L'un des plus grands cinéastes.
One of the greatest filmmakers in the world, with Thierry Frémaux there.
Délégué général du Festival de Cannes.
The general delegate of the festival. Judith Godrèche, who's got a little role in The Climb, in Un Certain Regard.
C'est un Américain, Michelangelo.
So Michelangelo Covino is American.
Avec
There, Ken Loach
son scénariste fétiche.
with his iconic scriptwriter.
Cinéaste engagé, bien sûr, ô combien.
Of course, very committed, very engagé filmmaker.
Il y a toujours des choses à défendre.
Always got something to defend.
Dans le cinéma, les films
In
sont
cinema,
aussi
in cinema.
toujours d'actualité.
His films are really always talking about current affairs and always so well written, so controlled, mastered, a wonderful director. There you can see him with Paul LAVERTY, still talking.